Thank you very much for stopping by XJW Jake Bruggeman channel. I originally was going to go over a scripture in the book of Acts, but I thought this would be more fitting, and I wasn't planning on going over this, but since I read it and I do XJW videos on this channel, I figure, hey, might as well go over it. Maybe you'll appreciate it. So it's Friday, January 9th, 2026, and it says in John 6:5, where will we buy bread for these people to eat? Bread was a staple for many in the Bible times. In fact, it was so important that the Bible sometimes uses bread to mean food in general. Bread was also a central feature in two of Jesus' well-known miracles. We find one of those accounts in John chapter 6, after Jesus' apostles had finished a preaching tour. Jesus took them along by a boat across the Sea of Galilee so they could rest. Sorry for reading fast, but I just want to get to the point. I want to read it in context as well. They came to an isolated spot in the area of Bethsaida. Soon, thousands of people arrived and crowded around. Jesus did not ignore them. He kindly took time to teach them about the kingdom and to cure the sick. As it was getting late, the disciples wondered how all those people could get something to eat. Some of them perhaps had limited provisions, but most would need to go into the villages and buy food. Okay, so before I give my opinion about this, I'm just going to let you know that I could be wrong, and I'm not saying I'm completely right. And maybe there's things I'm right about. Maybe I'm right about some and wrong about a lot. I don't know. But that's just that's just an opinion. But it says right here, I want to touch on a couple things. It says Jesus did not ignore them. So right there, Jesus did not ignore them. But does the governing body in JW.org, the organization, Watchtower organization, ignore when people that are in the world, when it comes to like food pantries and things like that, does Watchtower ignore them? Oh, you bet they do. They want your money. They'll take money from anybody, but they won't give it to anybody in the world. They only share it. They only do it for, they say kingdom interest, but that's their version of the kingdom interest. And here it says, and there's no scripture to really back this up. Kind of, but not really in this context. It says he kindly took the time to teach them about the kingdom and to cure the sick. So the organization is trying to get witnesses to buy into the fact that Jesus is talking about God's messianic kingdom, which very well could be what he was talking about. But you think about it, do you think Jesus really at that time would be teaching about something that's going to happen well over 2,000 years later to these individuals that are not going to be around? Why would he take time to teach about the kingdom to these individuals? I never understood that. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Why would he take time to talk about the kingdom that's going to be, it hasn't even arrived yet, 2,000 years later? Now, the organization is going to say, well, he's teaching about our version of the kingdom. Watchtower's kingdom, how everybody else is going to be annihilated, and you have to prove yourself 1,000 years, plus another 1,000 years, however long the final test is going to be, while the governing body is going to be along with Jesus ruling as kings and priests, and they don't have no final test or anything or whatever to get back to perfection, but they will be a immortal spirit creature, which is, there's no evidence of all this. There's just no evidence for the governing body to be the faithful and discreet slave, and to think that they're going to be ruling along with Jesus up in the heavens. No. So that's my opinion. That's why they inserted that in here. But if you go here, Jesus did not ignore them, these individuals, the thousands that came along in the isolated spot, like I say, and he had to feed them with bread, and the miracles, I guess he performed that to feed them with bread. the governing body acts like, they're going to be ruling along with Christ, and there's no evidence of this. Uh, Again, they ignore regular people in the world. They don't care. They only care about the bottom line, and the governing body certainly aren't faithful and discreet. They're not. They don't. They don't. First of all, they don't. They sit in luxury, and that's just the bottom line. They don't have any proof, and how many times have they had failed predictions and failure after failure? But as soon as somebody in the world fails, one little failure, they're quick to condemn it. And by these fruits you'll recognize these men.